If you want to access a mortgage as someone who is self-employed, whether you are a consultant, freelancer, running a big company, the metrics that drive success for getting the best mortgages are actually the metrics that you really need to think about for your own company. That's revenue, how well do you manage your debt, and lastly, how organized are you with your time and all your important documents. The number one complaint that I get from people that are selling is they don't want to piss anyone off, and secondly, it's too damn hard for them to convince someone that they need whatever you're selling. What I've found to really own sales is you have to have this profound understanding of how human psychology works and buying behavior given the era that we live in with all this noise out there. So the way you actually execute on that is you have to be really good at both personal and automated follow-up systems that actually add value. And that's gonna be in the way you do it with your sales calls or with your automated marketing. So where do you start? Books. Lots and lots of sales books. There are truly some game-changing sales books out there that I really enjoyed. And what they mainly teach you is there's a mindset that you need to really be confident to do sales and not take things personally. But I think beyond that, you have to understand, you have to be empathetic to who your target customer is, and you really have to know them. You also have to realize how much sales and marketing BS those people have to go through, all the calls they get, all the texts they get. You have to, to some degree, play the game, but like be empathetic to who's doing it wrong. And you've got to think about how do you do it differently in a way that really feels genuine to you. And you have to ultimately be selling a product that you really care about to solve someone's problems. Here's a question. How often do you either procrastinate or just dread having to call someone or send them an email, someone who you know probably doesn't want to talk to you? Or what about the very human feeling of being ghosted and being pissed off with someone who's just not returning your calls after you gave them tons of value? Lastly, what's the last thing you even talked about, right? So those are all things that a lot of people have as a problem. And well, what's the solution? A CRM. A CRM truly solves all these problems. I know at the beginning we tried to use more Excel or we got a really cheap CRM, but the problem is that we were cheaping out for a crappy CRM that in the end didn't even make us want to do more sales because it just wasn't pleasant to use. On top of that, sales is hard and intimidating as it is, so we were doing no one any favors. Invest in the proper CRM. We love Close.io or HubSpot, but there are so many. And the things you can do with this is you can set yourself reminders for certain prospects, build a pipeline, move them through different stages. You can, of course, know what you said to someone in your last conversation. Context is very important, especially if you haven't talked to them for a long time, right? And lastly, you want to use the power of automation through emails and text messages. You can even call from your CRM, so you don't have to use your personal phone. These are all such massive things that you definitely have to look into. One thing that a lot of entrepreneurs tend to forget or overlook is the first impression in sales. And that first impression isn't just how you're dressed. It's when people look you up online, on your social media, your website, it's your branding and marketing that you just cannot overlook and not put care into. Let's say for a second that you have a great phone call with someone. They didn't talk about seeing your social media, you didn't put a lot of effort into that, that's fine. But what's gonna happen is that it's probably not gonna be the right time to actually close them as a client, or they might not be that convinced, but they're probably gonna tell you in a very indirect way. So no matter what, you've got to find a way to stay in touch to either educate them more or just simply be top of mind as they go do 1,000 other things. So marketing, again, is such an important part of staying top of mind. And I'm talking, you need a newsletter at some point, right? You need social media content, you need video content, you need a YouTube channel, but all four of these things can actually be intertwined. So start with one, but really do it properly and just think about, my prospect needs to be educated in what ways? And yes, I can call them once in a while with my CRM, but what value am I giving? What's that icebreaker? How do I keep them posted on all the great things I'm doing with other clients? It's all about marketing and branding combined with sales. Doing them in isolation, if it's just marketing, it can be very hard to see the ROI on that. But if it's just sales, I mean, it's just such a laborious process to follow up and it can be ineffective. So you need both of these. And honestly, instead of looking at what the ROI could be at the beginning, with marketing, think about the opportunity cost of someone just dismissing you because you're not showing up the same way you would show up in a meeting in person. So you do have to treat them the same way. And again, sales and marketing are truly one. And you've got to find your sweet spot of how to present yourself, educate, and just build a relationship using technology and of course yourself. Even if you do the best job at sales, let's say you use the perfect marketing and the perfect CRM and you just have the best script. Here's the thing, when someone actually signs a check, that is largely out of your control. In fact, it's almost all out of your control. So actually, if you look at profit, the first component of it, revenue, is actually not really in your control when it exactly closes. The other part of profit, which is your debt and your cost, that's something that people overlook a lot, and actually, that's the thing you can 100% control because you're the one who makes decisions on that. Now with managing debt, there is a lot of expenses you have, especially as a business owner. So what I like to do is at least every quarter, what I do is I do an audit on my expenses. And I think to myself, how essential are these really? So for example, if I see that a lot of my staff are taking remote days and they're not actually going to the office, why would I pay for 3 or 4 or 5 seats? Maybe I just pay for 2. Maybe we don't need an office, right? Like really think about the things that you're just doing on a daily basis and question them, right? Another side of that is software, SaaS products, fancy, email schedulers and calendars and surveys. Like how essential are those really? And do you have to be on the most premium version of that? Will the freemium actually work? Like look at the details between the different features and see what makes sense for you, right? And lastly, if you're spending money on marketing like Facebook ads, a lot of people just boost posts and just because it feels good, but like really look at, does the feeling match the actual result? Maybe it's direct return on investment. Maybe it's just you talking to an intelligent marketer and asking them, are these metrics, are they good benchmarks, right? So really question the things that you're just doing, that you're spending money on, and just see if there's true value to them. Another thing that I did recently, I guess applying my mortgage financing skills, is we just looked at our credit card debt, and it wasn't really out of control, but we were paying about 20%. And when we couldn't pay it in full, we were getting dinged for that. So we consolidated that into a line of credit, rolled it into that, and I think they usually charge about half the interest. So it was just a quick win. And little things like this, I think you should really take the time to zoom out of your daily business, again, monthly or quarterly, to just save money and increase your profit. What we love is actually doing what we call computerized money habits. And what that essentially is you can automate a lot of what you need to pay off for debts, but also savings. So for example, one that just kills us beyond just, of course, paying credit cards is GST, right? Or your sales tax. We would often forget that we had to pay that at the end of the year. So we would use thousands of dollars that actually weren't ours for expenses that probably weren't even that useful, going back to what I said a moment ago. And we were struck this bill at the end of the year with thousands of dollars, which is really stressful. So what we do now is we actually allocate the sales tax amount every month or every quarter, and we'll try to do it in an automated way so that it's in a different bank account and we just can't access it. Therefore, at the end of the year, we have that saved up, but also even just for your own sake, whether it's an investment or just for a rainy day, try to save 10% of your revenue, right? If you're break even, put that away and don't touch it, right? So I think automated money habits to pay off debt and also to save are super important. Another thing that gets massively overlooked is your time, right? So you have to track your time, especially if you're in the service business. How much time does it take you to deliver a service? And what is your time worth? What is your staff's time worth? And what are you actually charging for that? So if you really track meticulously with software, for example, Harvest is a game changer, so good. You can use the app or use the computer, it's great. This gives you self-awareness of whether you're charging too little or just not being efficient enough, right? And another layer of that, and this is you can try this not just for contractors, but actual salaried staff who technically don't have to track their time. You can still do it to just as a self-awareness exercise of where is your time going, right? And you'd be mind blown. If you actually look at this, I look at it on a weekly basis. I track all my time, right? And then I actually look at like how much time was spent on important revenue generating activities or things that I know are really important. And you'll see a whole bunch of distractions take up your time. And that's why you need this for self-awareness, because there's so many things get thrown at you. This is a great segment to the last component. And what that is what is your project management? How well do you organize yourself? And what's your mindset? I mean, how motivated are you really? Because without having the right mindset, knowing where you're going, and just managing yourself, there is no way that you're gonna have any amount of meaningful profit. Before you can really organize your day or your week or your month, I mean, you really have to think about like, what are your goals? Like, where are you really going? So with goal setting, I mean, research shows that 3/4 of people, they completely fail on their goals only a month into the new year. That's even if they set goals, right? So why does that happen? I mean, firstly, well, there's a lot of things why that happens, but I think the biggest component of that is that the world is changing so fast now. A year or even a year is very hard to predict, especially in the entrepreneurial world. So people get discouraged, right? But science shows that actually 90 days is the magic number, because a 90-day goal, a quarterly goal, it's far out enough that you can work towards, but also it's short enough that if you don't accomplish that goal or your life changes, you don't have to wait another year to set your goals. You can actually reset your goals on April the 1st if you're going from January to end of March. Like, it really is a way for you to reset, and it really helps you break things down. And I think that's such an important component of organizing yourself, is this goal setting that's done in a very calculated and chunked down manner. So when you've got your 90-day goals, I mean, high level, to actually get these 90-day goals, you should be looking at a more broad yearly goal. Even a 3, 5, 10-year vision. Those are all things that really get you working towards something, and they're really, really important. I mean, questions to ask yourself as you do these exercises are, where are you gonna write these goals down? Is someone gonna hold you accountable? Are there people in your life who also have similar goals and might be able to actually do these with you and share the journey? Super important question to ask yourself, right? So what you'll find is a lot of people, they don't have the right foundation and the right kind of system to setting these goals and actually activating them into your weekly schedule, your daily schedule. I mean, it all kind of trickles down, and I feel like with goal setting, people just don't give it enough reinforcement and readjustments as things change. One of the biggest issues that people have with goal setting, even after they set them, is say, Paul, how do I actually make this in a day-to-day manner? Like, how do I actually manifest this, right? So let's get a very specific of the tactics just for the next 30 seconds to a minute. Now look, your solution there is journaling and weekly goal setting. Super important for you to actually reflect on your day and plan in advance. The quick thing with journaling is there are some amazing apps and methodologies that you definitely have to look into. Start small and really build up and ask yourself questions that make you better and that help you reflect, okay? And at the end of the week, what I love to do is I'll look at my key learnings, the most inspiring meetings, and the most pressing things to do. I'll actually calibrate them, I'll reflect on them, and then I will use it to actually plan my next week, right? So what I'll look to do is I'll look to actually block out dates and times in that following week that are linked to my goals and to what I did last week. And I basically treat them like meetings where they're priority items that I know are important, and I treat them like something that just can't be missed. So that's really important. At the end of the day, with journaling and proper weekly planning, you don't let other people's priorities get in the way of the things that you know are most important to help both you and your clients get to the next level. So now that you have your journaling and your weekly planning and your goal setting all figured out, how do you stay damn productive to actually execute it well? First recommendation is you have to read Getting Things Done by David Allen. It's the best way to really think about how to organize both your physical and your actual virtual workspace. Super important. Now, make sure you write these down. If you want to actually be really productive, here are a set of tools that I love. Step 1 for project management, especially if you have an actual team, Asana, and Trello are great ones, and I've heard great things about Monday.com. So secondly, you really got to make sure you can store documents properly. I'm talking contractor invoices, things related to accounting, legal documents, all kinds of actual work documents. If you're not using Google Drive or Dropbox or something of its equivalent, truly you are in the Stone Age. Communication is probably the most important thing as a team or between you and your clients. So I use Slack. Everyone's using a version of that. It's kind of like the WhatsApp, but for corporations. And you can even actually integrate other free apps within it that help keep you on track. So we use something called Stand-Uply that sends us questions for us to reflect on as a team in the morning so we can really plan our days. And then things that we talk about in our morning meetings. So there's so many great communication tools that are absolutely essential for you to stay on track. So one of the tools I absolutely love, and it's so simple, it's a browser extension called Momentum, or its equivalent, of course, is also Dayboard. See which one you like. They're both free. And they basically allow you to put your to-do list on your browser. And whenever you open a new browser or a new tab, it pops up your to-do list. So it keeps you on track to what's the important things you have to do today that you shouldn't forget, especially if you got pulled in a different direction or if you got distracted. You really got to keep yourself in line with these browser extensions. They truly are great for keeping you on track and helping you be organized. Okay. Breathe. I threw a lot at you and it was not figured out overnight. It takes a long time. But bringing this back to your success as an entrepreneur and to your future mortgage, look at your revenue, your debt, and your self-organization strengths and weaknesses and focus on the ones that need the most love. And after that, you can really start to figure out what are the steps you need to take to qualify for that best mortgage, have the most success in your business, and really understand what's the best way to manage your finances. Do you have a question or an opinion on this? Honestly, I would love to hear it. I definitely haven't figured out everything as far as the best hacks and tools to elevate your potential, so please share them. I'd love to learn from you as well. And lastly, if you know someone who is self-employed and or just plain driven to own a home on their terms, please send them this video and make a deal between each other to hold each other accountable to your goals and ways to elevate your potential. If you learned something that is new, valuable, and hopefully actionable in regards to being more profitable and being more organized in your business and your life, then please make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Make sure that you're also alerted for the next video. We have them every week. And friends, entrepreneurs, as always, please keep leveling up your living.